There's literally no consequence to spending money we don't have, to printing money. But that's what we do. And so we just voted to increase fines on OSHA. Now those fines, OSHA can go target businesses. Well, what happened? Now that's been consolidated. U.S. District Judge for the Eastern District of Missouri granted a preliminary injunction on November 29th for 10 states, brought forth a November 10th lawsuit by state AGs. On December 1st, in a similar ruling, Louisiana Western District U.S. Judge Terry Doughty issued a nationwide injunction to the CMS mandate, a separate mandate, the CMS mandate. Sorry, I mixed these up. The OSHA mandate. A panel of judges with the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued an order staying enforcement and implementation of the OSHA mandate. Now back to the CMS mandate. Matt Schlepp, the U.S. District Judge for the Eastern District of Missouri, granted a preliminary injunction for 10 states. And on December 1st, in a similar ruling, it was a nationwide injunction on the CMS mandates. These are the mandates that are shutting down hospitals and nurses and doctors from carrying out their job. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't care. And I know they don't care because they just passed a continuing resolution continuing to fund the mandates of a tyrannical executive branch without holding them accountable. I promise you, if that were a Republican president, they would be outraged at these mandates. But my colleagues on this side of the aisle think voting no and walking out to go to dinner is perfectly fine. Because that's what's going on here. They're not over in the Senate backing up Mike Lee, and they're not here talking. Federal workers mandate, federal contractors mandate. November 30th, U.S. District Judge Gregory Van Tatenhove of the Eastern District of Kentucky issued a preliminary injunction halting the government's enforcement of the federal contractor vaccine mandate, which, by the way, is the mandate that's impacting universities, which is causing my friend with MS to possibly or probably lose her teaching job. Veterans, active duty military, frontline health workers, university teachers, professors, visiting professors, people across this country in private business. Now, hopefully the courts will strike this down. But since when is it the job of the Article I Congress to punt to the courts and say, well, I hope you do it? Do we care about the power of the purse? Do we care if bureaucrats are targeting American citizens, saying, you must get the needle in your arm? And there's no science indicating in any way, shape, or form that those mandates are solving any problem at all, but rather causing problems. Over 80% of over 12-year-old American people have gotten one shot of the vaccine. 99% or something close to it of people over 65. We're not even a year in to the broad rollout of the vaccines. This blows way past the polio epidemic. My dad had polio. I'm well versed in the impact of the polio epidemic. It didn't roll out nearly this fast. It's targeted at kids, not people over 65. Any mandates were left to school districts, and it took them a while to get there. And this was a vaccine that had been worked on for years with a significant amount of knowledge. And a different kind of virus, by the way. Not a coronavirus. A 21-year-old nursing assistant in Crawfordsville, Indiana, worked 60-hour weeks throughout the pandemic. She's facing termination. Do we care? Does the Indiana delegation care? Either side of the aisle? I'd like to know. Is the Indiana delegation over alongside Mike Lee fighting to prevent the funding of the government bureaucrats that are going to enforce that mandate on Becca Pitts? Jen Peters, a 39-year-old San Diego maternity nurse, was forced to resign from her position after not getting vaccinated. Recently met with heart surgeons that fly around the country saving lives through heart surgeries. They came in, they do that. They do pro bono work, they do a lot of volunteer work, they fly all over the world. They've been providers for roughly 3 decades, and if the CMS mandates stay in place, they are no longer going to be able to save lives. They will have to shut down. Are we fine with that? Is that okay? Dozens of my constituents in the military have contacted me about this vaccine mandate. I represent thousands, like many of us do, but I represent San Antonio, a heavy population of veterans and of active duty military. People calling me in tears because it was their dream to serve their country and wear the uniform of the United States, and they're being told they must get the jab or they'll be discharged. Now, I'm not talking about the ability of a commander of a submarine going off for a 9-month tour and saying, okay, sorry, I'm going to make sure everybody in that submarine is vaccinated. Okay. Do you got to discharge the guy or gal? Or can you say, you know what, we're going to relocate you and leave you able to serve, but while this vaccine or while this virus is going around, we're going to require the commander of the submarine to be able to make that decision. Okay, that's a reasonable outcome. Discharging under current law dishonorably, by the way, members of the United States military for not wanting to get the vaccine for whatever reason they believe is in their interest, with young men in particular having concerns about the myocarditis and the heart issues. And we're going to say, sorry, too bad, you get discharged. This body just funded the DOD and the government that is forcing those people to be discharged instead of continuing to carry out their service to this country, and this body should be ashamed of it. A lot of people in this town seem to have forgotten that the American people are not our subjects. They are our fellow citizens, and we owe them the duty of representing them. They are our neighbors, our relatives, our friends. The people are sovereign in this country, not the president. George Washington turned that down. The founders rejected that structure. And yet this body, which was supposed to be a check against an overbearing executive acting as a monarch, refuses to check the executive.